topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Churchill said, "Those who fail to learn from history are condemned to repeat it." Kevin Hallinan believes that certainly applies to business. Welcome to Winning Business Radio, here at W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. And now, your host, Kevin Hallinan.
Thanks, everybody, again for joining in today. I'm Kevin Hallinan, and welcome back to Winning Business TV and Radio on W4CY.com. We're streaming live on Talk4TV, the number 4TV.com. And, of course, we're live on Facebook, and that's at Winning Business Radio, and also YouTube. We are available after the live show on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple, pretty much wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. So check us out there. The mission of Winning Business Radio and TV, as regular viewers and listeners know, is to offer insights and advice to help people avoid the mistakes of others, right? I say this every week, to learn best practices, the how-tos, the what-tos, the what-not-tos. And of course, I want you to be challenged and hopefully to be inspired by the successes of others. Who are those others? Consultants, coaches, advisors, authors, founders and owners, entrepreneurs, people with expertise. So, virtually every successful person I've had a chance to talk to has had some form of failure in their lives and careers. We all do. As much as we have success, there are failures along the way. We all have to get our knees skinned once in a while. I always say I'm driven to keep those scrapes from needing major surgery. Let's endeavor to learn from history so we don't repeat it, as the intro said. I've spent the better part of my career equipping businesses to grow, and that's from solopreneurs to small and medium-sized companies all the way to the Fortune 50, including startups. I've seen some of those companies win, and to varying degrees, I've seen some fail. I've had the opportunity to rub elbows with some of the highest performing folks around, and in some cases, with a few who should have found other professions. But in my own businesses, I've had a lot of success, but some failures too. So I like to think I've learned a lot. So yeah, you're going to hear from me. I like to share a few opinions here and there, but usually I want you to listen to our guests. And my returning guest today is John Gates. You may remember him from, we had him in early February. He is pay negotiation expert, keynote speaker, best-selling author of Act Your Wage, founder of Salary.coach, and he's the founder of the Crossroads, a proven faith-aligned path that helps Christian corporate leaders launch their first consulting business in about 6 weeks. So I'll read his bio, but we're gonna get a little background and then focus on that cool-sounding concept. John Gates is an international best-selling author and salary negotiation expert who's overseen more than 75,000 job offers, not a typo, during his 30-year career in corporate recruiting. As a former head of global recruiting for multiple Fortune 500 companies, he's trained hiring teams on how to negotiate, giving him rare insider insight into what actually works. Again, the creator of Salary.coach, and that method, John helps executives and job seekers confidently navigate offer conversations without risking the deal. His sessions blend sharp strategy with a calming, practical tone that audiences love and apply immediately. John's a mission-driven speaker who leaves professionals saying, "Why didn't anyone teach me this sooner?" He's the international author, again, of Act Your Wage, What to Say and How to Say It to Get the Best Possible Salary Package. He holds a bachelor's in management and finance, a double major from the University of Oregon. He resides in Medford, Oregon, has 5 kids, 2 boys and 3 girls. And John was back with us, as I said, in early February. So I asked him to come back and talk to us about the Crossroads. John, welcome back to Winning Business Radio and TV.
Kevin, so fun to be back with you again. We had such a great time last time.
We did.
And I think this will be more of the same. So I'm really grateful to be here, and it's going to be a blast.
Well, I didn't want to cover both of those discussions in one because we would have shortchanged both. So we got a really good understanding last time of what you do at the Salary.coach. But we're going to get I'm going to remind people of your background a little bit, and then we'll get into the work that you're doing now with faith-based people. You grew up in Oregon. You were influenced by some people when you were younger. Who were those folks?
Uh, well, lots of people. So I
Mm,
think my parents were probably the biggest
mm,
influencers, but moving out of, I think most people are influenced by their parents, but
for sure.
I think I got a start in entrepreneurism kind of young.
Mm,
Um, Interesting story. Like one of my first jobs was working as a grocery store checker, and was going to get married and take my honeymoon off. And after planning that 6 months in advance, they told me, well, no, like, you're not going to get your honeymoon off here. You're on the schedule. So there it is. And I decided to quit and go on my honeymoon with no job at all. And I was 20 years old. Like,
yeah, yeah.
I wet behind the ears, not knowing much about anything, but I knew I was going to go on my honeymoon. And so I came back with no job. I actually ended up doing a couple things early that really influenced me, and this is before I went back to college and got my business degrees and so on.
Mm,
I sort of knew I was going to be a business owner, but worked. I was actually an Amway distributor early on,
hmm
and think what you want about that business. Like, I wasn't in it forever, but I was in it long enough to learn a lot of things about how to grow yourself
Yeah,
professionally.
yeah.
That was a major, huge positive influence on my business life.
Amway has made a lot of wealthy people over the years, so there's a
Yeah,
lot to
yeah.
be said for that. It's not for
So
everybody, but
it
yeah,
didn't make
respect
me
there.
into like one of those wealthy people, but
Hmm
I learned a ton about how to interact with people and read people and build a business
Mm,
and things like that. And during that same time, like, I was trying to grab onto anything I could in a weak economy. I
yeah.
actually ended up selling Kirby vacuum cleaners door to
Oh,
door.
that's great experience.
And that's as terrible as it sounds. Like, for anybody here
Yeah.
imagining what that might be like, it is really rough. Like, you're 20 years old and your
Mm,
job is to go out and sell vacuum cleaners. I learned how to sell, though, during that time. A couple of those old, like, grizzled veteran
mm,
um, vacuum cleaner guys would yeah, teach me how to isolate objections and how to
yeah.
close the deal and stuff
That
like
is the truest cold call, right? Physical
that.
knock on the door. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I learned some of that as a young person.
Mm,
Eventually, all this inspired me to go back to college and get a degree, because I wanted ultimately to have a proper business of my own one
mm.
day. And then I was trapped in the corporate environment for many years after that. Like, you have a family, kids, bills to pay. You get a job with a salary, direct deposit, health insurance,
That's right.
all
That's
those
right.
good sort of
The golden
false.
handcuffs, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is kind of golden handcuffs. I was talking with another, like, a Christian missionary, about what I'm doing here in the
Mm,
Crossroads, and he said, you know what, Christians should never feel like they are handcuffed anywhere.
mm. That's
And
good.
it took me kind of a long time to learn that lesson, but lots of influential people throughout my life. I think those are two big influencing things for a young person, formative experiences, um, early in the world of business, and being somewhat independent.
Did you grow up in a Christian home, or what's your faith journey look like?
Ah, that's a very interesting question. So, no, I didn't. I actually discovered Christianity a little later in life, when I was in my mid 20s. And kind of an interesting story there. I grew up in a New Age household.
Wow.
So my father, who passed away during the pandemic, I would describe him as like a spiritual wanderer. He kind of liked the buffet of spiritual
Hmm
experiences from a lot of
hmm
different places. He took a little bit of Christianity, a whole bunch of the New Age movement, and
Yeah.
a bunch of stuff. Like, he slept under a pyramid that was made out of brass and aligned to true north, because he believed that the energies from that would heal him and help him to have a positive life. There was a lot of stuff like reincarnation, past life regression,
Mm,
hypnosis, some sort of guided meditation process, psychic healing. just about anything that was interesting and a shiny object, he would
Yeah.
go after.
Yeah.
And that's the environment that I grew up in. And yeah, one day I got invited to a Baptist church, and I just decided to go. And I don't really know why, but the sermon was going to be on evolution and creation.
Mm.
And the person who invited me thought that that might be of interest to me because I was a big science fiction guy and loved all that stuff. And so I decided to go, and the person who was on the stage was making fun of people who believed in evolution for 90 minutes. He did that. It was attacking people, talking about how stupid they were and how stuck in their own logical systems they were, and all that. And it made me really, really mad. And I couldn't
I don't
figure
blame
out.
you.
I couldn't figure out why. Like I was sitting there, and um, I was mad for 2 weeks, and I don't stay mad for very long.
Mm.
And finally, like in a moment of introspection and honesty, I looked at myself and I said, you know why I'm mad? I'm mad because as a teenager and a young adult, I made fun of people who believed in biblical creation because somebody just said so. And what I came to realize is that I had accepted kind of by default the theory of evolution just because somebody said so.
Mm-hmm.
Star Trek said so. Battlestar Galactica said so. All these shows and things, the comic books, the X-Men, all these kind of things kind of assume that evolution is the case, and they bring it into storytelling that I enjoyed and liked. And I just sort of thought, well, it kind of makes sense. And I never really dug into the theory itself and what might be a truth claim in that theory. I spent the next 2 years just digging in whatever I could find on theories of creation and evolution and all that. And after that, I kind of came away thinking, it takes more faith to believe in evolution. Actually,
I agree.
That was my honest take, and
which sounds ridiculous to those that don't understand, but I agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's just where I landed, right? After all that research, that's where I landed, that the folks who are wanting to believe that life came from nothing and then changed over millions to billions of years, there's a lot of faith in that belief system, faith that actually defies science to some degree. And so,
but there's also plenty of doctrine which lines up with science and it explains
absolutely.
Science. Yeah,
they're not mutually exclusive at all.
Right,
And
not at
it
all.
was like a really cool discovery. It's like, well, I guess I'm thinking and seeing that there's more evidence apparently to support that there was some sort of intelligence that drove the existence of the universe and me. And then I started wondering, like, okay, if some intelligence created me, what's my responsibility to him, her, it, them, whatever it is? And that sent me down another research path where I just started trying to find out, all right, if there's a creator, who are they and what do they want? And I studied every major religion in the world and a bunch of the minor ones and started pulling the threads of the truth claims. And honestly, Kevin, I didn't want it to be Christianity. I wanted it to be Zoroastrianism or some sort of like, I wanted to be the guy that found the truth.
Cool, right?
Not here. It's way over there.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool? Like, that's just my personality.
Yeah.
And so I was actually a little bit disappointed that I settled on Christianity as being what I thought was the most defensible, most logical, most historically accurate, most like all of the truth claims seemed to be supported in a way that I could accept and understand them. And so I accepted the story of Jesus and the resurrection and all of this up here in my mind way before I really understood what it was going to do to my heart.
Well, you read Lee Strobel, you read Nicky Gumbel, and there are many others who have had similar experiences. Lee Strobel being a lawyer, he set out to disprove Christ and became,
the
Christ's
case
follower.
for Christ, right?
The case
and
for Christ.
I read a bunch of those works. I ended up reading a lot of C.S. Lewis.
Yes.
And I love the way that C.S. Lewis reasons through things, and it just it just seemed like finally now I had some understanding and some structure that I could regard as truth, and then I could build on top of that.
All right, John, we're going to take our first break. Some of you are saying, well, how could such a faith-rich, Christ follower be such a corporate guy? We're going to learn that in about 60 seconds. We'll be right back. All right, maybe we won't. All right, let me ask that question. After this question, we'll go to commercial break. How does a guy who's a Christ follower navigate all those corporate positions you had? Aren't they contrary to one another?
Yeah, they are to some degree. Like it's easy for a Christian to be an employee. Like you can certainly do that. And most people, in fact, do that. Like if you look at the people that are going to church, you will see most of them work somewhere.
Sure.
So there's not really an inconsistency there. Here's where the inconsistency was for me. I ended up in an HR career. And when you're in HR, you're responsible for coaching managers through, employee manager problems, things like that. You have to be perceived as dead neutral in those conversations. Meaning I had to hide my faith. I felt like I did because like as soon as I counseled a manager that it was time to fire the non-Christian, or I'm going to advise that they promote the Christian or something like that, it appears or feels like my own bias is in that room.
Right.
So for many years, I felt this like silent pressure to keep my personal faith very private, almost secret. And it took me a long time, like a long time, even after I left the corporate fold, to feel safe talking about God, talking about Jesus, talking about my own faith and letting it guide my business life. And I know there are a lot of senior level people who probably feel the same. You're listening to this, you're realizing that, hey, I have to remain unbiased too. I'm the chief operating officer.
Right.
I'm about to make staff cuts, or I'm about to, making a promotion decision, whatever. A lot of senior people that I've talked to feel like they have to take their faith and put it in a closet somewhere where it can't be seen, except for on Sunday.
All right, we'll come back to that in just a minute. I think we're ready for commercial. We'll be back in about 60 seconds.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Bestien Wealth Management is family-owned for 2 generations. They take pride in thoughtful financial planning and wealth management with a family feel for your closely held family business. Bestien Wealth Management focuses on deep planning, integrating your business planning with personal. They will help put your money to work and your mind at ease. Go to bestienwealthmanagement.com for more information. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor. Join the Bestien family and let our family advise your family. That's bestienwealthmanagement.com for your complimentary initial consultation.
Have you ever dreamt of being on the radio? Well, now is your chance. Be a radio show guest on the #1 ranked internet radio station and promote you and your business for free. Yes, you heard it, free. Business advertising right here on W4CY.com. Call 561-506-4031 now to get booked on one of our shows. That's 561-506-4031. Get your free advertising now.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
All right, we are back with John Gates. and he's got some cool stuff to tell us. Talk about how you made it into the big corporate. You were at the very highest levels of recruiting. Take us through that a bit, and then we'll get into the Crossroads.
Yeah, sure. So, I fell into recruiting after college. Wanted to be a financial analyst, and you can kind of tell by my personality, I like to analyze things. But that first job fell apart before I showed up. I got laid off before my start date. That was the first time I ever got laid off. And so I ended up searching for work after college because I had a newborn son and really needed something. And I ended up working at a temporary agency because I could speak Spanish and I had a degree and I looked good in a suit. And so they gave me a job and said, I want you to work out in this Hispanic suburb of Portland, Oregon, and translate all of our application materials and our testing materials. And then you can interview and dispatch people who don't speak English. And that was a big growth opportunity for this temp agency. So I ended up staying in that temp agency or recruiting agency world for the first 5 years. Then I moved into corporate recruiting and very quickly rose into leadership. I was a very, very good pay negotiator on behalf of companies. And that opened up a lot of training opportunities to teach other recruiters. And I ended up in leadership pretty fast. By the early 2000s, I got a job at a mining company to build a recruiting function from scratch. And mining up until that point had been kind of dead for about 20 years. So the whole industry hadn't done any hiring for that period of time. They kind of forgot how to do it as an industry.
That makes sense.
So I had to learn a whole new industry and really had a good time in mining and natural resources, but rose up very quickly and ended up being the head of recruiting for another mining company further down the line, leading fairly large global recruiting organizations, and wrapped up my recruiting career at Marathon Oil as the head of global recruiting there. But through that whole journey, I've been laid off 4 or 5 times, and that stings, especially when you're relocating to take a job with a company. They'll hire you during the growth phase.
Right.
Growth cycles are 3 to 5 years. You grow until you overgrow. And somebody makes a mistake, or it's time to get a little bit smaller or a lot smaller. And as soon as it's time to get smaller, the people who make the company bigger, like me, are fairly easy targets for staff reduction. So at the end of that process with Marathon Oil, I just got tired of that cycle, wanted to take more control, and I started my first independent consulting business then in 2016.
Recruiting Transformations, it was called.
Yeah, I started that and made a ton of mistakes. Like when you started this segment, Kevin, you talked about skin and knees and getting beat up, and like I was really good in my realm of recruiting process. That was like I was a world recognized expert in how to fix broken process in functions. So I had this awesome consulting idea. I was going to go out and help companies to fix these broken processes, but I had no idea how to get hired as a consultant, how to market myself as a consultant, how to charge. Like I stole all kinds of money for myself. Here I am, one of the best negotiators in the world, still struggling from things like imposter syndrome and self-doubt and all kinds of mindset holes that cost you money when you're a new consultant. And man, I hear consultants say this all the time. When they're first starting out, they say, I just want to get a couple of clients under my belt.
Right. And then I'll figure out pricing, or I'll raise prices then.
Or I'll even give it away. Like my priority right now is to get this thing going or whatever. And they end up giving away 5 or sometimes even 6 figures of fees that they don't have to give up. And so that's kind of where Salary Coach, which is my negotiation coaching business, and the Crossroads overlap some, in that we're talking about some of the same concepts in those businesses. Salary Coach helps people who are looking for another job to negotiate favorably with the company. And one of the things I teach in the Crossroads is teach new consultants how to negotiate, how to scope a deal properly, how to get through the door, and how to do that without losing your shirt in the process. So,
And a lot of that, I imagine, I remember the conversation, but it's also adjacent to what I do in developing salespeople and sales teams, mindset, right?
Absolutely.
Confidence is.
Yep, there is a lot of mindset work to do. And I think sometimes Christians hear that term mindset and they think, oh, that sounds kind of woo-woo. It sounds like maybe there's some new age movement stuff happening in there. But what I've tried to do within the Crossroads is to help people build a Christian business mindset, which is a little bit different. We can talk about that for a while. But
let's start right there. Let's talk about what that looks like. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I think there's some foundational misunderstandings that some people have. And when it comes to business and things like that, we talked a little about the golden handcuffs idea. And so I'll rewind to that. And I think this is going to make sense. I talk to many people, many Christians even, who say, yeah, I'm 48 or I'm 57 or I'm 62. And I just got laid off. Now I'm at the crossroads. Do I want to start my own thing, or do I want to go back and get another job? And very often they lean back into the job because it feels like a safe place.
Right.
It feels like a feathered nest, like the reliability of the direct deposit going in makes their
a regular paycheck,
makes their life manageable in their mind. The health insurance, where's that going to come from, and all of that. But here's where the Christian business mindset comes in, right? I think a lot of people get this twisted in their mind, and they think that the job is my provider. This is going to come, when I say this, it's probably going to go, oh, yeah, I get it now. If you feel like the economy is your provider, or the company is your provider, or the job is your provider, no wonder you're going to feel burned out and enslaved and anxious about this. You're stuck. You feel trapped. You feel smothered in some way. If that's you, you don't have to feel that way. You're laboring that way because you've confused who the provider is in your life.
Yes.
And you've got an idol sitting on God's throne. And that sounds kind of harsh.
It does, yeah.
But it really, like, what is an idol anyway? It's something that you worship as your provider. I guess that's one way of looking at it. So if something that's not God is occupying God's throne as the provider for your life, then you built your house on the sand. And that's why you feel so stressed out and trapped and everything else. God doesn't want you to feel that way. You can stay in the job and change your mindset and have much stronger joy. Or you could say, I'm not going to worry about this paycheck thing. If God's really the provider, that's A. If God's the provider and God is calling me into a life of independence, then God's going to make that happen. Like he's going to provide for opportunity, money, clients, all that stuff. And that is another thing that I talk about in the Crossroads a lot. Bring God into your business planning and into your business idea, into the vision. Allow him to create the vision for what you're going to build with you. Like, I like for people to imagine that they are co-creators with God in this process. Now, that doesn't mean we're gods. What it means is that we're children of God, made in his image. And it's undeniable that humans are creative. We are creative beings. We want to go out and create things. The studio that you're sitting in right now was made possible because someone created it. That, the building, the house that we live in, right? The neighborhoods. You just go outside and look around and you will see the testament of human creative energy. And we have that because we're made in God's image. He designed us to be creative creatures. And that's part of his identity and who he is. And so I don't believe that God wants to change the world all by himself. I think that he wants to do that through us and with us. And that includes things like building your business. You're going to go out and build a business. You don't have to think that you're doing that alone in your own strength or whatever. If you have a persistent desire to do this, and you, through prayer, that desire gets stronger, not weaker, and you have spiritual people that you trust are coming to you and saying, Kevin, you've been talking about this a long time. I really think you should do that, whatever. That desire, you can conclude, is there because God put it there to move you in a certain direction so he can change the world with you.
All right, pause on that thought. That's a great place to pause. We're going to take our second and last commercial right here. We'll be back in another 60 seconds.
You're listening to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan on W4CY Radio. That's W4CY.com. Don't go away. More helpful information is coming right up, right here on Winning Business Radio.
Bestian Wealth Management is family-owned for 2 generations. They take pride in thoughtful financial planning and wealth management with a family feel for your closely held family business. Bestian Wealth Management focuses on deep planning, integrating your business planning with personal. They will help put your money to work and your mind at ease. Go to bestianwealthmanagement.com for more information. Advisory services offered through Commonwealth Financial Network, a registered investment advisor. Join the Bestian family and let our family advise your family. That's bestianwealthmanagement.com for your complimentary initial consultation.
The YP.com website is your local search engine. If you're looking for a good restaurant, it can help you find the right one nearby with ratings and reviews. Or if your car breaks down, you can use the YP app to find the closest repair shop. Or maybe you're just looking for something to do on a Friday night. Well, it has great local coupons for all sorts of things in your area. No matter what, when, or where, if you're looking for something, YP Local Search can help you find it. So go to YP.com or download the app to search local, find local, and save local.
And now back to Winning Business Radio with Kevin Hallinan, presenting exciting topics and expert guests with one goal in mind, to help you succeed in business. Here once again is Kevin Hallinan.
We're back with John Gates of Salary.Coach, founder of the Salary.Coach method and the Crossroads. John, how does someone make that co-creating practical? How do we, I think it's a fairly simple answer, but I want to dig in here. Okay. How does someone take that practical step to bring God into it?
Yeah. Well, I think you've got to do that through some prayer. And the whole first week of the program that I have built in the Crossroads, which helps somebody to launch a coaching business or a consulting business in 6 weeks, right? It's a 6-week long program. It's spiritually grounded for Christians. The whole first week, though, is working with God to go from a large number of options down to one that you're going to really feel some alignment on. And so there's a prayer process. There's some AI work actually in there to help brainstorm some ideas. There's some analysis around how did God make your personality? What are the problems you really love to solve? What's your communication style, your personality, all that. So all of that creates a long list of options. And then through the first week, you're just narrowing and narrowing and narrowing and narrowing until you get to the one that you really feel aligned with God on. And part of the alignment, too, is asking questions like, who do you dream about serving? And anybody that hires a consultant, a customer, whatever you want to call them, you're going to be serving them. You're going to be helping them. And so imagine it this way. Instead of selling somebody something, you're going to be answering their most painful prayer. Even if they're not a Christian,
right?
They're going to hire you because they have a gap, and if they don't fix it, they're going to be in trouble. There's a sense of urgency. Their bonus is at risk. Maybe their job is even at risk, and they are hoping, code word for praying, that that a solution will appear. That somebody's going to save their bacon, or they're got to figure out a solution to this problem. And so as a consultant, you can dream about with God, you dream with him about who is it that you really desire to serve. What problem do they have that you know how to fix? And that's kind of the kernel of how you can align with God on this stuff. And then once you get solid with him and you understand that this is the way God wants you to move, then he can become what I call a CDO. Like, you're going to hire him on your payroll. He's going to be the chief door opener for you. Because like I said,
I'm stealing that with full credit to you.
Yeah. Steal it, man. So he wants to work with you, like to make this vision real. So that it's not just about putting money in your pocket. It's about changing the world in a positive way. It's relieving somebody's pressure and answering someone's prayer. It's a very different approach to how you're thinking about this. And your anxiety about where's the money going to come from? Am I going to have enough to pay my bills and all that? When you feel that deep alignment with God, that rests a bit in you. You don't have that crippling thing that's going to push you back into those golden handcuffs.
How did you come up with this Crossroads concept?
Yeah, interesting question. So I've been running Salary Coach now for the last 4 years.
Yeah.
And a lot of my clients are senior level people, department heads or C-level folks in the corporate world. And some of those have lost their job during this weird job market that we're in. It's probably the softest, weirdest job market I've seen in my 30-year career. And it's extended back probably about 3 years. It's been weird. And so I started working with these execs that have been dismissed, downsized, caught in a merger and their position was eliminated or something like that. And they got a nice severance plan, but they realize that they're in a dangerous position, that they need to land something and get something going quickly before their severance falls,
6 months happens quickly, right?
Yeah, especially in that world. So, and I'll tell you guys a little secret in case I did not include this in the last session. But when you're an executive and you're in between, it's 10 times harder to get the next job because most of those jobs are filled through referral or executive search. Those search firms like Korn Ferry, they get paid a lot of money to fill those positions.
And there are fewer of them, of course, at the top as well.
Yeah. So the executive search firms, those retained agencies, it's not unusual for them to have a 6-figure fee to fill that position. It could be $200,000 for a job that maybe pay $700,000 or $800,000 for a senior level exec, right? Now, how do they sell that to a CEO? They go to the CEO and say, I see that your chief operating officer position is vacant. you should hire us because we can give you candidates no one else can give you, that you cannot find on your own. We're going to go knocking on the doors like the vacuum cleaner salesman, and we're going to find the people that are happily working for your direct competitor, and we're going to bring them to you, and you're going to love it because they're the best. And so that's a sales pitch, and that's why you should pay us $200,000. And the CEO says, well, okay, I can understand that. That makes sense. And if they start presenting people that are unemployed that the company could find just by posting the job on LinkedIn or some other place, that CEO starts to wonder why he's paying them $200,000. And that's why, like, these are reasons why you need to have a consulting business if you're in between, so that it doesn't look like you're unemployed. It makes you more interesting to those search firms. They're more likely to present you if you have that. And so I had a bunch of clients in this position. It had been 5, 6, 7, 8 months since they got laid off. They were starting to just sweat it. And I'm saying, well, you know, I know how to help you start a consulting business. Why don't we do that? And it just sort of became a natural extension to what I was doing in Salary Coach. I launched 3 or 4 successful consulting businesses where these guys are thinking, wow, I've got real money coming in. Maybe this is my new career. And some, they're just happy to have some interim income, so they're not draining out their 401k to keep their kid in college. But in either case, they were able to stand up consulting businesses pretty quickly following my advice and avoid a ton of the mistakes that I made in the first couple of years.
I'm going to point out 3 of those. You said without burning bridges, underpricing, or wandering in uncertainty. And I want you to dig into those 3 things. Those were intriguing.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not sure where I'm going to go yet with burning bridges, but wandering in uncertainty is a huge one.
Yeah.
People don't, they don't really know how to be a consultant. And I'm going to give away a secret here for anybody that's thinking about making this journey. And it's totally counterintuitive, but it is the truth. I learned this the hard way. Okay. So the perception that most people have is, I'm going to go out to the market and I'm going to say, I can do a lot of things. I can do a lot of things for you. I know how to do a lot of things. And so therefore you should hire me because I can do a lot of things. And that might be true as an employee, but as a consultant, that's not how consultants get hired. And consultants get hired because they can fix the specific, highly painful problem you have right now.
Expertise.
Yes. And when they go out to find the person that's going to save their bacon, they don't want to hire the person who can do a little bit of everything. They want to hire the person who is highly specialized in that particular problem, has done it lots of times before, and knows what they're doing, because that reduces the risk to the person who's hiring you. And the way I describe this in my program is, imagine you're getting married. You're getting married in the summertime, and you're going to go hire a wedding photographer to shoot your wedding. And it's like a really important day, and you want to make sure that it's really good. And so you go out and you try to find a photographer, and you find one person who does business headshots and product placement photographs and some nature shots and the occasional wedding. And then you find another person who does only summer weddings in your location. That's all they do. They do it all the time, all day long. They have a deep portfolio of all this. And so who are you likely to hire for your wedding? It seems pretty easy. You could apply the same logic to a surgeon. You're going to have open heart surgery. Are you going to hire the guy that does knees and elbows and the occasional open heart surgery? Or are you going to hire the person who does nothing but that procedure?
Yeah. And the last one went pretty well.
Yeah. So it's counterintuitive because we think we're opening the door very wide. And in fact, it's harder to get hired that way. It's easier if you have a narrow niche of people or a problem that you're solving. And that's something that I help people to refine and get down to something that's going to be profitable. Now, if you're thinking, well, I don't want to be doing the same thing over and over, that sounds like a dreadful hamster wheel. Don't worry, because this is just to get you in. Once you're in and you start to fix that problem that you're good at fixing, you're going to see all the other stuff.
You bet.
And you can make offers, and I teach people how to do that. Like once you're in, you can make an offer to do something else. It's just getting in that's the hard thing. That's the really, really hard part.
Is that what you refer to, or is it something else when you talk about revenue momentum?
Yes. I think you need to get through the door with a couple of defined offers, and that gives you quick successes. And then you can do what I call landing and expanding, where, you get in, you start looking around, you make additional offers, you deepen the relationship. And you can go from like a little thing that you're going to charge $6,000 for to an expanded scope of work that's $60,000 for the next month and a half or something like that. Revenue momentum, though, is getting a string of those successes until you're to the point where now you've replaced your corporate income and even surpassed it. It takes some time and some focus. Got to get off the business development hamster wheel too, because that's another awful trap.
Yep.
Like most people heard, well, this guy sold vacuum cleaners door to door. He must love selling. I absolutely don't love selling. And I think most people don't love selling. And you're right to think that it's going to be hard to go knocking on cold doors. There are other ways to build leads for yourself that are not uncomfortable, even if you're an introvert. I had to find a whole bunch of introvert-friendly workarounds because I'm a bit introverted myself. And having a viable referral network is a core part of that strategy. So instead of knocking on doors cold, find people who can introduce you warmly to the folks that need you. And that is a much more comfortable way. And if you do that right and you build that network and you nurture it some, it's easy to nurture those relationships instead of going out and cold knocking. You're going to get leads when your head's down on a project.
That's right.
And you don't have to suffer that like I did. Like when I was first doing this, I did not understand this. I would find a project. It would keep me busy for 3 months and I'd be happy as a clam doing what I loved. And I would avoid doing what I hated, which was cold business development work. So I was getting paid. I was happy. My business bank account was like padding a little bit. I felt a little more protected. I was still operating in that place where I thought my business was my provider when God, in fact, is. But I would come up for air after the end of that with a slightly fatter bank account thinking, well, unfortunately now I don't have any leads. So I'm going to have to get started on, and it would take me 3 or 4 months to find the next 3-month gig.
The roller coaster.
Yeah. It took me a long time to figure out how to solve that problem. And a lot of sales coaches will teach you that you should set aside an hour a day or something like that. Be disciplined about it. Might work for some people, but that never worked for me. I found that a vibrant referral network is the very best way to keep leads coming in with me not having to go do all that vile door knocking that I talked about earlier.
That could be a social network. It could be a professional network. It could be social media. It could be LinkedIn, et cetera, right?
Yeah. You just got to focus on building the network. And the key here and key concept for listeners, if you want to try this on your own, is find the people that know your prospect. We talked about that dream customer. Define who that is and what their problem is, and then find the people that know that person. Spend that time, find those people, and if they like, know, and trust you, or you find them some reason to give you referrals, maybe it's going to be mutual back and forth or something like that. You're going to have a much easier time finding leads. It's just the weight of that activity gets a whole lot lighter. And I found too, like, this is strange, since I've started coming out and saying I'm a Christian, I want to help other Christians on this journey, which feels like it's partially a business journey and it's partially a spiritual journey because of all the fear involved in it. When I started going into secular spaces and saying I'm a Christian and I want to help other Christians do this, the doors flew open. Like, I was talk about God being the chief door opener. I learned that there are Christian chambers of commerce now popping up across the country. Like, I didn't know this before. And people would call me or they would email me and say, "Hey, John, I love what you're doing. Let me introduce you to this guy who's down in Katy, Texas, who's starting up the Christian Chamber of Commerce down there. You two should partner." And it just, like, God became the chief door opener for me once what I was doing was fully aligned with what he wanted me to do.
That's outstanding. We have to wrap this up. I feel like we're just getting going. I want you to tell us for just a few seconds, who should reach out to you and why? You just said it. They're people of faith. They maybe find themselves in this situation, or maybe it's a desire. Maybe they want to go this route, or maybe it's been forced upon them. Who else?
Yeah. Anybody who is feeling constrained in their corporate career, that you could be still working in your corporate career, or you could be released from the job and you're at that crossroads moment where you're thinking about doing this. You should reach out to me and I'm happy to talk you through what ideas do you have, see if it's viable, see if that might be just a good pressure test of your idea and what you want to do. It's not for everybody, but a lot of people can do this, and it's amazing. Once you have that freedom, you're unleashed. God is the provider. Living like that is more exciting than I can even describe.
Well, let's hope some people take advantage of that. And you just said you welcome takers. It's John@salary.coach. Listen carefully, John@salary.coach. You can check out that website, salary.coach. He's a fantastic guy. You can see I know he's very approachable. So thank you, John. We appreciate you being here for the second time. I want to stay in touch, and I appreciate all your time and effort.
Thanks, Kevin. It was a blast, just like the last time. You're a marvelous host. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. This is a show about business and business challenges. If you think you might need help with the sales part of your business, if it's not meeting expectations, maybe we should talk. We're not right for everybody, but Sandler Training is our company, Winning Incorporated. We develop salespeople, sales teams, and sales leaders. We do it every day in different industries, all kinds. Reach out to me. Otherwise, that reach out, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to move quickly. Kevin@Winning Business Radio is the best way to reach me in this venue. Be sure to join us next week, Monday, March 30th. My guest will be Craig Brenner, founder of iCognio, a platform that delivers AI productivity benefits while addressing the security, governance, accuracy, cost concerns that have slowed adoption across legal industry, AI for legal. Until then, this is Kevin Hallinan. Thanks for being here.
You've been listening to Winning Business Radio with your host, Kevin Hallinan. If you missed any part of this episode, the podcast is available on Talk4 Podcasting and iHeartRadio. For more information and questions, go to winningbusinessradio.com or check us out on social media. Tune in again next week and every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time to listen live to Winning Business Radio on W4CY Radio, W4CY.com. Until then, let's succeed where others have failed and win in business with Kevin Hallinan and Winning Business Radio.